These are the Fantasy Facts presented by Gridiron Expert with your hosts, Pat Loftus and Seth Keller.
It's a lot of echo on there.
Got a little echoing happening?
Yeah, a little bit. How many times did you hit the button for that drop there, Seth?
Once, twice.
Just a half dozen. No big deal. Welcome back.
Are we echoing when we talk? Because I need to fix that real quick then.
No, we're good. I think you just hit the button.
Okay.
We just hit the button. It was a little excited. We got a big show tonight. As you can see, if you're watching us live, we're joined by quite a few guests. We'll let them introduce themselves in just a second. This is the Fantasy Facts podcast brought to you by Gridiron Experts. We're going to run through some stuff real quick. You can follow the show at GX Fantasy Facts. I'm at Dynasty_Pat. Seth is at FF the At Home Dad. We have two promos still going on, one with Viridian Global. Use the code FAQS, that's FAQS at checkout, save 10%. Also have one going with Underdog, so if you sign up with the promo code FAQS, FAQS, they will match up to $100 of your first deposit. So take advantage of both of those promos with our good friends at Viridian Global and at Underdog Fantasy Sports. All right. We are joined tonight by three very special guests. We're going to talk a little kind of midway point of the season, but I want to let the gentlemen introduce themselves first. So we're going to start the way that I'm looking at my screen up on the top. We're going to start with our friend Hutch. Hutch, say hello, introduce yourself. Where can the people find you on Twitter? And if you have anything that you want to promote, anything you're writing, any other shows, anything you want to talk about, now's the time.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hutchison Brown. You can find me on Twitter at TYFMNFL. It is a hard username, but my podcast, you can find it's pretty much everywhere. It's called the Young Fantasy Mind Football Podcast. You can find it pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found. And I do write articles for DLF. I do have a job over there writing articles. And I do have one coming out this week. We're going to preview the trade deadline and potential landing spots for Allen Robinson and how they could affect his fantasy value. Very excited for that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
That does sound fun and does sound like something we might get into in today's the meaty part of today's show. So that should be good. Maybe we'll get a little sneak peek at some of your thoughts on that.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Rocco, say hello. Where can they find you on Twitter? Anything you would like to promote that you're currently working on?
You can find me at my first and last name, Siriaco Solar, FF, on Twitter. Don't have much to promote today except for a new business owner at 504 Paints in New Orleans. I know we're a global audience here, so, it's not something that'll help everybody out there, but anybody in New Orleans, come see me. I also have a podcast with a good buddy of mine, Saints and Sinners Podcast, where we talk about all things Saints.
It's a good podcast. I've been on it. It's a good time.
And last but not least, Aaron, say hello. Where can people find you on Twitter and any work you would like to promote?
There we go. My name is Aaron Stewart. I am the salary captain. You can find me on Twitter at AaronStew09. Two things I like to promote. There's one, I'm actually getting back in the writing game. I've been on the COVID inactive list the last few weeks, but I'm back. I'm alive, and I'm going to be going back to looking at wide receiver, cornerback matchups each week. My goal in that is always to find some players a little bit deeper in the waiver wire, like probably aren't even going to be picked up in the waiver wire, that you can pick up, that I truly believe can have top 30 performances. Some of the guys in my notes recently, like Alan Lazard last week, hey, going against Washington football team, basically that's a cheat code there. Any receiver that's going against that pass defense, you can start them and feel pretty good about it. And my other thing is, I too also have a podcast with my buddy Ryan. It's the Dynasty Wonderland. You'll follow us on Twitter at DW_pod. We record 3 times a week during the season. We cover the Monday night football games. We review all the Sunday games, preview the Thursday night football games. We try to give a rundown into the player injuries, as well as every so often, we do our own little solo pods too. I'm hoping to have a special guest on a solo pod of mine this Friday, kind of finalizing some details there. But you can find everything on Twitter at DW_pod.
Very nice. And another pod that we've been on and had a great time on as well.
Absolutely.
So what we're saying there, Hutch, is you got to send us an invite so that we can jump on your podcast too at some point.
Oh yeah,
we like to jump on each other's podcasts and have a good time while we're talking. So
oh yeah, I would love to. I'll keep in touch with you guys. Don't worry.
Absolutely. All right. Pat, you ready for the
Yeah.
opening question?
Let's do it.
It's time to pop one open with the opening question.
All right. So this was my question that I wanted everyone to discuss. We're at the midway point of the season, and we've all done, we've written, we've podcasted about it, we've tweeted about it. We talk about guys that we're right about or that we're wrong about. This can be good or bad. So we're going to go roundtable real quick. Who is a guy that you were right about or you were wrong about, good or bad so far this year? For me, it's Justin Fields. I have been a Justin Fields believer. I have done everything I can to support him and prop him up, and he's good. This is the week. I've been dead fucking wrong on Justin Fields, and I'm not afraid to admit it. Yeah. That's it. I was wrong on Justin Fields, and it pains me to say that because I still believe, but I just won't talk about it anymore.
He's a rookie.
And Matt Nagy ruins everything, so
Shh, get me started.
Matt Nagy has the opposite of Midas touch, where it's like Midas turned everything to gold. Matt Nagy turns everything to. Let's just leave it as another substance.
We call that Adam Gasing.
Yeah, Adam Gase. I was about to mention Adam Gase, 100%.
He just takes off his face mask.
It's a bad episode of Scooby-Doo. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Adam Gase.
Oh man. Oh, if any whoever has the GIF creation ability to make that happen, somebody needs to make that happen. Where it's a Scooby-Doo and it's like Matt Nagy's face, and he peels it off, and then it's Adam Gase underneath. We need that.
Yes, I need that. I need that. All right. Who would like to go? Who would like to go next?
I'll go next.
All right, Hutch.
So the player I was wrong on. I mean, if you follow me on Twitter at all, you know I was wrong on this player. I put it out so many times, and I've actually started to root for this guy. Even though I love T. Higgins, I was absolutely wrong on Jamar Chase this year. I was just, for Dynasty and for redraft, I called him as an overrated talent. I did not think he was, I thought he was a bit of a one-trick pony with his deep ball ability, and that was kind of it. And I was 100% wrong on that. He is a stud. He's a stud, and I'm fine to admit it. It was just a really bad call by me.
Cincinnati
I was gonna say, I feel like Aaron right there was like, oh, not Jamar Chase. Like,
Cincinnati is making all those people that pissed and moaned about passing on Penei Sewell look pretty bad.
Oh yeah,
Chase is the real deal.
Yeah, Chase is real. Chase is definitely the real deal, and Higgins is still getting more targets. Higgins saw 15 targets to Chase's 10 last week, even though Chase went off for 200 yards. So I'm hoping that can produce a little bit more fantasy points, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, Chase is a stud. I was wrong.
Is anybody gonna say they were right on someone?
I'll do it.
All right, go ahead, Aaron. Let's do it. All right, Aaron.
No players.
Brave enough.
So I had an article way back in February where I was banging my fist on the table for Jalen Hurts. And I guess from a technicality, it's like I'm not right on this one because I said he'd be QB1 in fantasy football. And right now, in terms of total points, he's QB2. In terms of fantasy points per game, it's QB3. But I was just adamant. It's like, guys, look, there was always these debates. Oh, he's not a good passer. Oh, he's not a good NFL quarterback. I don't care. At the end of the day, he scores fantasy points, and he does that a lot with his legs. And when people go, "Oh, it's the fourth quarter," I don't care. Like there's
points
4 quarters of football.
Points of points.
Yeah.
As
an Eagles fan, though, it's been gross. It's been so gross to watch those games, man. Yeah. It's been awful.
Yeah, I just avoid them, and I just look at, oh, look, cool, fantasy points. It's great, and especially just to be like, because there's people that are like, oh yeah, he's going to be a top 10 quarterback. It's like, well, no, duh. Any rushing quarterback has that type of ability. Let's go bolder. Let's go. Last year I was like Dak Prescott, QB1. when you get into
on a points per
technicalities
game
there,
thing, he was
He
though
was.
because he played 5 games. It was phenomenal, and then
Oh, yeah.
his ankle broke in half, and the bone was like sticking out, and that was a
Right.
really disgusting looking injury. But
Yeah.
he looks good right now. I will say though, you can't be the person that checks your fantasy scores like every 5 minutes during a Philadelphia game, though, because you're going to be like, oh my God, Jalen Hurts has 3 points. Oh my God, he went down to 2. How did he go down to 2 points? Okay, now he's back up to 5. Now it's at 4. What is he doing? And then you're like, I'm not going to look at it anymore. And then at the end of the game, you're like, oh, 23 points. Oh, all right. We did all right. Good job, Jalen.
Yeah, he's like in a normal scoring format, he's scored 20 plus points in every game. Like he is not busted for you, and it's just because of his rushing and because of garbage time because the Eagles are trash.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guy's fool's gold because I think he gets yanked at some point actually watching him play.
Yeah.
It's really, really.
There have already been reports that Minshew could start.
Yeah, I just traded him for Justin Herbert.
Wait, what? It's like straight up.
Yeah.
Wait. Dynasty or redraft?
Johnson in a second, but
redraft?
No, dynasty.
Oh my goodness!
That's crazy.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
Thank you, Rocco, for already saying your win that you got of the year.
The guy said, "Man, he's got good numbers. I guess I'm gonna have to watch him play now."
So that's your win right there. That's your big win. Good for you, Rocco. Or you
actually
want to throw a player out there?
I chased Hurts everywhere, so it was kind of like a backdoor win. I was chasing him everywhere. I didn't really get him anywhere because everybody was holding on tight to him. But when I saw him play the last couple games, oh my God, it was so just disgusting.
Oh no, it's like Carson Wentz last year kind of vibes. Like it's just so delusional at this point. Nothing's working.
I don't know how the coach can watch him play, and probably the coach has a hand in this as well. How he can watch him play week in and week out, and they're down, in every single game, and he's doing these late game heroics that mean very little, and continue to try them out. I thought Flacco might get a shot. He's been traded, so maybe Minshew gets a shot at some point this season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Rocco, you want to say a player you hit on or missed on?
Man, I'll take L's on the whole Saints offense. Y'all told me the Saints offense would suck, and they suck really bad. Callaway, Troutman. I mean, Kamara looked good last year.
Don't say that. There's still hope for Callaway.
Yeah, once
Callaway.
Once Thomas comes back, he does be the number one.
Oh man, Callaway's the one. I was watching the game last night, and I'm going, "Where's Marquez Callaway? Where's Marquez? Come on, where's Marquez? What the fuck is Kenny Stills doing? What is going on? What is going?
What the fuck is Jameis Winston doing?
What is Traquan Smith doing? At one point, Traquan Smith looked fucking lost on the field last night.
Oh, he looked, and Jameis let him have it too.
Yeah,
well, that was on the sideline. Jameis was like, I can't read lips, but I could tell by the body language there was definitely some cursing happening in that exchange of words. And even though all you saw was the back of Traquan Smith's head, you could tell that there was some other curses coming out of his mouth too.
I mean, let's be honest. Traquan's looked lost his whole career, so I mean, that's nothing new.
Fair.
He's not been good.
Thomas is the only shining light that hopefully comes back. And everybody gets correctly.
Have we heard anything on Thomas? Like at all?
He looks good. Not on the field, but I don't know. I've heard everything from not coming back to could be back in a couple weeks, so it's like up in the air right now.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. All right. Well, Rocco is the local New Orleans guy. You're gonna have to let us know when he's ready to play. Give us the inside scoop. And I'll round us out with a win here. I was gonna go with one of my kind of numerous losses to like Austin Eckler, who I like I just can't ever feel good about drafting him as high as he is. Yeah, I know it's one every year. But what's nice though is there's really not like he's drafted as like 10 and then he gets up to 2 and it's like, all right, you went up 8 spots. That's great. But I'm going to go with my win, which is Cordarrelle Patterson, who I'd been saying before the season in all of your underdog drafts, go get you Cordarrelle Patterson with the 17th round pick.
Yeah, he was
he's a wide receiver in underdog. So if you go with like, I'm going to go running back heavy and then get just a couple of wide receivers late, Cordarrelle Patterson has been getting 20, 30-point games as a wide receiver that I've been able to take advantage of in some of my underdog leagues that I'm doing pretty good in, where I have him in the 17th round.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Hutch?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, if I was going to say win, I was going to say Cordarrelle Patterson. I was saying a lot in the offseason in deeper leagues, take a flyer on Cordarrelle Patterson. Mike Davis is not the answer. They're going to turn somebody eventually in the season, and it really could be Patterson.
Yeah.
I did not expect this at all or anything like this, but
so
I'm glad I have him in a lot of leagues.
One of the things I do is I look at percent of offense. So not just looking at like snap share or like how many rushing attempts and stuff like that. It's like how much of the offense is actually funneled
like college
through
dominator
one player. Not like college dominator, because that takes yards and touchdowns. This is like how many plays actually go to this guy. Like how many offensive plays actually run through this one player. Cordarrelle Patterson has back-to-back weeks of over 30% of Atlanta's offense. So they were on bye, but week 5 and week 7, he had over 30% of Atlanta's offense running through Cordarrelle Patterson. And that's like, and on the season, he's at like 20. I'd have to look at my other sheet in a minute, but he's at like plus 20% of offensive plays for Atlanta. And so that's the rushing attempts and the targets for all of those plays. And he's putting in work. So Cordarrelle Patterson is definitely a guy that I want to know more about, but we'll save that for maybe the fact or fiction segment of the show, which is coming up.
All right. Let's do real quick. Let's head to the news desk. It was a quiet week, thankfully.
Pat. Fresh fantasy facts news desk. I spent all of like 30 seconds a year ago making that drop, and you're not even going to let me play it every time possible? Come on.
Pump the brakes. I'm just saying it was a slow week last week. Normally, we have about 15 things to cover here. So we'll run through these relatively quick. We'll start in Philly with Miles Sanders. They're calling it a right ankle sprain. Similar to the Saquon Barkley injury, looking at 1 to 3 weeks, but there's a kind of a question mark on that timetable. The big benefactor here is Kenny Gainwell, who I think is a must-add in every league and every format. If he's on your waivers, go get him.
Boston Scott, too.
He was the second option is Boston Scott, who's probably a second thought here. My question to you guys is, if you can't get Kenny Gainwell, what sort of fab offer are you putting in for Boston Scott?
Like if you have Kenny Gainwell on your roster?
Well, no, if you don't have Gainwell. If you need a running back, like let's say, Gainwell's rostered by someone else and Boston Scott's available, are you putting in a waiver claim for him? And how much fab do you think is worth it?
I think it's worth like $5, $6, maybe even up to $10 if you're that desperate. I think, look, Boston Scott in that game saw 9 carries, which was more than Kenny Gainwell. Kenny Gainwell will likely see more passing work, but Boston Scott is going to be the main ball carrier for the Eagles, and I think that's valuable. Honestly, I do. We saw him last year in a couple of games when Sanders was out towards the end of the season, especially against the Giants, have big-time games, and we could see something like that from Boston Scott if he were to get a decent workload of 10 to 15 touches.
I don't see him getting 10 to 15 touches. Like
that's the problem.
Yeah, like he got 9 in this past game, which was good, and he was able to do a little bit with it. But I am especially nervous of this Philadelphia offense, where I forgot what the exact number was, but whatever it was, like the 3 weeks where they ran the ball 5 times or like 6 times over 3 weeks. It's something god awful and atrocious where you're just like, I should remember that number because it is so terrible. And I just don't trust Philadelphia to be a team that is going to give their running backs an opportunity. And so I agree in terms of desperation. Yeah, throwing some change out there to try and, scoop up Boston Scott off of waivers. In a couple leagues, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to win Boston Scott because there's no one else.
Same.
And right now I had to start Demetric Felton because I'm waiting for CMC to come off of IR, knock on wood, and hopefully he's back and healthy really soon. But I'm going to have to make that move, and I'm just not happy about it. Like it's not one of those waiver wire pickups where you're like, okay, this guy has a shot. Like this could go somewhere. And I think that's just, where I am with Boston Scott and kind of Kenny Gainwell a little bit, but with Miles Sanders definitely being out, I feel a lot better with Gainwell.
Right. So let's move on. Let's talk Zach Wilson. It's a right knee. It's a PCL sprain. He's looking at 2 to 4 weeks. The Jets just traded for Joe Flacco. Seth is excited because he has way too many bids in for Joe Flacco. I don't know why.
It's the same issue as with Boston Scott, but in Superflex. He's not. But when I have guys that when I'm like choosing between Davis Mills, Sam Darnold, and like Daniel Jones, who in the past 2 weeks, all of them have gotten like negative points and like serious negative points in some leagues. I gotta throw a desperation claim out there for Joe Flacco, and I don't. This was way too much celebration. That was way too much of a celebratory dance there. It ain't pretty. It ain't pretty, but I'm hoping to not get negative points.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
You could throw Ben Roethlisberger into that mix of awful quarterbacks that you would want to
never
Mr. Flacco for
never gonna do it
in Superflex. You just have to. Anybody that's actually going to get a start, has to be rostered in Superflex.
Yep.
I'm just blown away that the Eagles got something. Like this whole trade makes 0 sense whatsoever for the Jets. I get it. Okay, you want a quarterback because the Jets are going places.
They're not going anywhere. Yeah, I don't understand why they tried to trade for a quarterback. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
And
you give up a late round pick, which I get it. People go, oh, that's going to be nothing more than likely. You're probably right. But you look at what the Eagles have now. It's like 5 picks in the 5th, 6th round range. And it's like, hey, that's what you do. You get multiple shots at the dartboard. Maybe that pick doesn't hit, but like you've got so many picks there. It's like
you use those picks. You package those picks to move up. You package a couple of those to move up, 10, 20 picks or move up a round or two. The Jets to trade a draft pick for Flacco is ridiculous because the Jets need as many dart throws as they possibly can get. Yeah. So.
And like was mentioned, it's not like the Jets are turning things around now that Joe Flacco is going to be there for 2 to 4 weeks. It's now like, oh, Jets, the playoff contenders, right? They're going to come out of the AFC East. No, they're not. They are definitely not.
So maybe they win an extra game and they draft 4th instead of 2nd.
Which would be completely Jets like living in Jets country. That makes sense. Is they're like, no, we don't want the 2nd pick. The media will bash us. Let's get the 5th one, and we can screw up with the 5th pick.
Right.
Well, I sit there and I go, what was the bigger loss of the week? Their loss to the Patriots or the fact that they traded for Joe Flacco? Like it's just everything this organization does is just it's nuts. It's stupid. Hey, props to the Eagles to get anything for Joe Flacco when, as we talked about, like they went and traded for Gardner Minshew. So I think basically the draft pick compensation, it's like they got the pick back that they traded for Gardner Minshew. So you're swapping Joe Flacco for Gardner Minshew. At this point of their careers, give me Minshew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see Flacco unlock Elijah Moore.
There's always that one person in a fantasy league where it's like, oh wait, who do I got as my 7th wide receiver? Elijah Moore. Yup. Joe Flacco to the Jets. This is gonna be good.
All right, let's move over to Las Vegas. We'll talk. Josh Jacobs has a chest injury. It's the injury itself and the timeline are in question because they're on a bye this week. So he really has 2 weeks to recover. So monitor Las Vegas coming out of this week, starting week 9, to see what exactly is wrong. My guess is he's going to be good to go in week 9. Let's move actually over to New England. Jonnu Smith, and it's a right shoulder injury. They're calling it, or potentially calling it, an AC joint sprain. He looked good for the first time this week. For the first time this season, I think he looked good. That Patriot offense was looking really good. So this could be a potentially big blow to that offense because he was starting to turn a corner, in my opinion. What do you guys think about Jonnu Smith and the impact it could have on that New England offense?
I'm like Jonnu Smith fan number 1. And this season has just been rough, overall, because there's been absolutely zero productive fantasy weeks up to his game that he was having. But really, the impact in fantasy for the Patriots, it's minimal. It really is. Like Jacoby Myers has clearly been the top receiving target, and then Hunter Henry's been more productive than Jonnu Smith. So from a fantasy perspective, seeing Jonnu out, Jonnu probably is a roster in most competitive leagues. So minimal fantasy impact, and that pains me to say.
And also, it was his first good week, but it was against the Jets. Like, let's put that into perspective a little bit. Like,
you're right.
It was the Jets. Like, fantasy points are fantasy points. Like we talked about it with Jalen Hurts. Points are points, and that's what we're looking for. But let's not get ahead of ourselves in trying to, project this too far forward when it's the Jets.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Not a very good football player.
All right. Finally, to wrap up news and notes, we'll start with Green Bay. They have placed Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard on the COVID reserve list.
Yeah.
So this Thursday becomes Aaron Rodgers and Robert Tonyan, Randall Cobb. Maybe Jordan Love gets a little love at wide receiver.
Aaron Jones.
Amari Rodgers.
Let
me check my fantasy. Amari Rodgers.
All the Aaron
Jones not worth a start to me. Randall Cobb is actually worth a start to me, though. If you need a wide receiver or a flex badly, I think Randall Cobb is actually a solid start. Him and Rodgers have had, a relationship in the past, and they could definitely get it going here against a terrible Washington defense.
He has to throw the ball to somebody.
Oh, no, sorry. Did I just say Washington?
Yeah, they just played Washington.
Sorry, I mixed it up. Yeah, sorry. They're playing Cardinals, right?
Correct.
Yeah, sorry, I mixed that up. Yeah, Cardinals defense is actually pretty good, but still, Rodgers will be able to do Rodgers things and get the ball in Randall Cobb, and I think Randall Cobb had a solid game.
And the Eagles are the type of defense where they'll allow a little bit more underneath, where Randall Cobb can possibly Cardinals. What I say? No, we are jacking up every team that the Packers are playing. The Cardinals. The Cardinals are a defense where they'll allow things underneath and then light somebody up. So I could see Randall Cobb having one of those types of games where in PPR he has, a great day because he gets a bunch of targets, he gets a bunch of receptions, but not much else. Like an eight receptions for like 40 yards.
That's literally the exact number I was thinking in my head. 8 receptions for 40 yards. Exactly what I was thinking.
That whole offense is going to have to run through Aaron Jones in this one.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at it in terms of the passing game, because like on one hand you go, oh, there's Aaron Rodgers, and it's like he's probably going to have a good game because he almost has to in order to keep up with the Cardinals. And Cardinals are actually the best defense against tight ends. They don't allow many points. It's like, oh man, there goes Tanya. For receivers though, they're actually they allow one of the highest amounts of targets and touchdowns. So now it's like, okay, which receiver is going to benefit on this one? If there's no Adams, no Lazard, maybe it is Cobb. Maybe this is the MVS game. Like it feels like each week. I don't know. Is he back? Is he back?
No, I don't think he's done anything this season. I can pull that up real quick.
I know he always gets. He's the air yards king. He always gets like 200 air yards. But
he said he went on IR recently. Mm-hmm. He could return tonight because he had. I mean, not tonight, Thursday night, but he had he started 3 games, right? And he had 8, 4, and 4 targets. He didn't really make much out of it. He actually had 14 points against San Francisco, but that was on a touchdown, a deeper touchdown, and then he's just on IR since.
Yeah. That could be what happens against the Cardinals, though. He could get one broken play where Rodgers escapes the pocket, which he does well, and hits him deep, and boom, there's his fantasy day.
It's the MVS special.
Yep.
MV special.
MV special.
No.
I mean, the Cardinals haven't given up much to the tight ends, but I don't think they've really played an elite tight end this year. So
I'm sure
I'm not saying that Tanyan's elite, but he might be better than some of the guys they faced this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just looking it up, Rocco. That's a good point. They've not played
the Titans, really. Cardinals,
played the Rams.
Rams. Everybody wants to
Higbee,
but it really hasn't happened.
Yeah, they haven't really played.
49ers stands Kittle.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Browns, they don't throw to the tight.
That's right. When they played the Jaguars, there was no Tebow, so.
There was no Tebow.
Get out.
And wait. I have a mute button, right? Don't I have a mute button? There we go. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's what you did. That's what you get now. I feel like the guy from Around the Horn. Wish I had like a point button now too.
Oh. We needed that for the game tonight.
We did. And now we're just doing it old school, like pen and paper on the.
Should I get pen and paper? All right.
All right.
Seth, this game is your baby.
Yep.
So you can introduce it. I'm gonna get pen and paper.
Okay. Just use the Google Sheet, Pat. Come on, we're better than this. All right. So to everybody listening out there, here's the way we're gonna play fact or fiction. It's fact, FAQ, or fiction. Come on, it's a great play on the name of the show. Anyways, what we're gonna do is we went and we found where were guys taken in ADP and where are they now. Look at that, Pat. You are a scholar and a gentleman, sir. And so what we're gonna do?
We're very high tech here.
Super high tech.
Very professional.
And so, damn it, Pat, you keep messing me up. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw some names out there. We're going to let everybody know where they were drafted, maybe not drafted in your league, but drafted overall in terms of ADP, and where are they now in terms of total points and points per game. This is all PPR. This is all coming from our good friends over at fantasydata.com.
Yep.
And what Hutch, Aaron, and Rocco need to do is they need to let us know, is it fact or is it fiction? Are they going to continue doing what they're doing, or is it something going to change? So that could be, are they good and they're going to continue being good, or are they bad and going to continue being bad, or are they good and we're going to see something trail off? So Pat and I are going to award we can award up to 2 points for the really, really good argument. 1 point for it's a good argument. You made some good points, but I'm not fully convinced. And a 0 for that's like what I just did to Aaron when I muted him.
Yeah, that's scene out of Billy Madison. I award you no points.
Yeah, we're all dumber for having listened.
Listen to this exactly.
No soup for you.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to fire this up with a guy that I was excited for this year. And it is the one and only Mr. Calvin Ridley on the Atlanta Falcons. He was drafted as the wide receiver 5. People were saying, you have him as wide receiver 5. You are too low, sir. You need to get him up higher and draft him sooner. And he is currently 41 in points and 26 in points per game. So in terms of his draft position to his points per game, he is down 21 spots. Fact or fiction, is Calvin Ridley going to stay bad for the rest of the season, or does he turn it around? Fact, he stays bad. Fiction, he turns it around. We're going to try and get like 1 minute-ish per response here if you need it.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Going
Hutch,
over.
Hutch,
going
you just
overtime,
spoke. You go first.
Yeah. Going
Okay,
over
I'll go
time
first.
will count against your points.
I mean, I was huge on Calvin Ridley. He was my wide receiver 1 overall. He was my guy for this season. I absolutely loved him, and this has been unfortunate to see. But I'm gonna say this is fiction. I'm still on the Calvin Ridley train. I'm still hoping that he can get back to his elite fantasy production. This Falcons offense has started to roll in the last couple weeks. We see Kyle Pitts getting rolling. We saw Russell Gage last week getting rolling. Cordell Patterson still rolling. And Matt Ryan's been playing better as the season has gone on. Calvin Ridley just hasn't clicked yet, but he's seen the targets 8, 10, 11, 13, and 10 targets in all of his games. He has been heavily targeted in this offense. It just really has not been working out. And I just think something's got to click soon. They know they've got to get him going. I'm going to say that Calvin Ridley is going to bounce back soon, and I think you should go buy him low.
Aaron.
And I'm going to go the other route. So I guess I'm going to go fact that he's going to remain bad. And it's mainly because this Falcons offense, it's not what past Falcons offenses have been. And when you're right in the middle of a Cordero Patterson season, that's my favorite name for him. Spell it with SZN, along with Kyle Pitts' emergence there. Is this an offense that can allow a third fantasy relevant player? I don't think so. I don't. And yeah, like Calvin Ridley is getting the targets, but it may just be that, especially now without a Julio Jones there. And I get it. Ridley had games where Julio didn't play, but when you have an entire season where it's like, okay, Calvin Ridley is the wide receiver 1 on this team, suddenly you're going against the top cornerback. You're the primary focus of the opposing defense week in, week out. Really hasn't lived up to it. And then there was the weird thing where he was in London. He missed the game in London with a personal reason. And, you do start to go, is there something going on off the field that may be affecting him mentally that could be affecting his performance? And you take the last game with the 10 targets and it was like 26 yards. It's like, goodness, 2.6 yards per target is just egregious there. And 7 games is enough sample to go, okay, maybe kind of like Allen Robinson. It just isn't clicking this season. And I don't see enough evidence of it suddenly changing, especially the cost too, like wide receiver 5. He may get all these targets, but he's eventually got to start doing something. So it may be make or break. It may be like AJ Brown this past week. It's like, show something, show us life. At least AJ Brown had the excuse with injuries. We don't really have that with Calvin Ridley. It just seems that he's the number 1 receiver this year and hasn't been able to live up to those expectations.
Rocco.
Yeah, well, I generally subscribe to the theory that if a guy's been good, most of his career, they didn't just suddenly, lose it overnight. I know that he had a new coaching situation that changed a lot of things for him, and it just it hasn't been a good season. The team started super slow early on. A new number 1 target in Atlanta, made themselves known in Kyle Pitts. But I don't think it can be as bad as it's been for the rest of the year. I think Hutch has a good idea of trying to trade for him because he is super low on a lot of teams right now, and people are probably looking to unload him. So I don't think he's going to get back to where he was in the past. but I do think that he can definitely push at some point this year. He does have some juicy matchups coming up. I think he can push for a top 12-ish type of guy. He's not going to get anywhere near where he's been in the past, but I think second half of the season he's gonna have some good games, and he's gonna help a lot of guys win games.
Yeah,
So-
speaking of the buying part, I just went out and traded Darnell Mooney for Calvin Ridley this week. Straight up.
All right.
Straight up, I gave Darnell Mooney and got Calvin Ridley, and that's how bad it is right now. That's how cheap he is.
There was nothing else involved in that trade.
I wish I had a Darnell Mooney to trade for a Calvin Ridley now. Like, that's...
Shit. I have Darnell Mooney, and I would offer him straight up for Ridley, and I think the Ridley owner
I don't
would
think I
like
can get a second.
I was gonna say I might not talk to the person I offer that to ever again, though. Like, that's
all right. So the points have been tallied. I am in the same boat as Hutch and Rocco. I think that Ridley will turn it around. So I'm going to award 2 points to Hutch, 1 to Rocco, and 0 points for you, Aaron.
I almost want
to because I'm a teenager.
I almost want to give Aaron a point for Patterson season, but then he talked for like 2.5 minutes, so they like negated each other. So
all right, I am going to stick in the wide receiver space. We're going to talk about a gentleman that was the wide receiver 38 at the start of the season. Total points, he is wide receiver 5. Points per game, he is wide receiver 2. I'm sorry, points per game, wide receiver 2. So he has increased his stock 36 spots. We're talking Deebo Samuel in San Francisco 49ers. Fact or fiction, Deebo Samuel will continue this torrid pace that he's on and be a top 2 to top, or will be a top 5 wide receiver at the end of the season.
Aaron, you start first.
Gotcha. Well, my apologies to Deebo because I called him Dino this entire offseason, and I took a massive L on him. But for me, he can absolutely keep up the pace because I'm a huge Brandon Ayuk fan. I was like, Ayuk will be there, and even if Ayuk's the number 2 guy, he's going to eat. But no, like Deebo has relegated Ayuk to just running routes, not getting targeted. Deebo's clearly the man there. No George Kittle as well. And Deebo is just this ridiculous yak guy. And his yards per reception, too. He gets these short targets, and he gets so many yards off these short targets. Like, I tried to deny him. I can't. Like, he's going to be top 5 this season.
Rocco.
Yeah, I've always thought of Deebo Samuel as like a poor man's A.J. Brown, but he's really blown up this year. I think a lot of it has to do with Brandon Ayuk no-showing this season for some reason. I guess he just got in Coach Shanahan's doghouse, and he has remained there pretty much all season. And he hasn't done shit so far, and it's kind of aggravating because I have him in a couple places. But Deebo, I don't think I believe that he's going to keep up this pace. Like Aaron said, most of his yards are yak. And I think at some point, Ayuk shows his face around that place. I don't think he could look as good as he did in his rookie year and then just face plant this entire year. So I think he'll be good. I think he'll be a top 24 guy, top 5 guy. I don't buy it for the rest of the season.
So I'm going to buy like a top. I don't think he keeps up his what is he, wide receiver 2 in points per game right now?
Wide receiver 2 in points per game right now.
Yeah.
Wide
I don't think he's
receiver 5 in total points.
I don't think he keeps up his top 5 performances because I do think Brandon Ayuk is going to show his face eventually. Like, Brandon Ayuk just had such great flashes last year. I don't think there's any way that he's going to stay in the doghouse all season. And George Kittle, he's going to come back sometime soon, right? Like,
hopefully.
Hopefully. Like,
maybe.
Sometime, maybe.
Possibly.
Like, he could be back. And I feel like that's what is really carrying him here. Like, he does not have a game below 8 targets on the season. Deebo Samuel has been just a target monster. And with Ayuk eventually showing his face, with George Kittle eventually coming back, that's not going to keep up. His yak is going to keep him up there in the top 12 range. but the volume is not going to be there as much anymore. And especially with Trey Lance coming in, Trey Lance is eventually going to be the starter for this team. They drafted him with a 3rd overall pick. They traded a lot to get that pick, and they drafted him for a reason. They want him to be the quarterback, and they're going to do a lot of RPOs. They're going to do a lot of designed runs for him, and the passing volume will likely be very low for just the offense in general, and that'll hurt Deebo Samuel. So I'm going to say Deebo Samuel does not keep up a top 5 pace, but I still consider him a top 12 receiver moving forward. He is legit.
Seth, you are awarding the points this time around. How would you like to distribute them? Or were you paying attention?
Yes, Pat, obviously. It goes in the same order as the last round: 2 for Hutch, 1 for Rocco, and sorry, Aaron, 0 for you. No points for you.
No points. All right.
I'm sorry for the MV special. I'm so sorry.
And part of it too is like I have to believe Ayuk will come back at some point.
He just showed too much last season.
And I'm telling you, I'm just huge on Ayuk. I fell in love with him before his rookie season, and I was just smashing the button on getting him in the 2nd round of rookie drafts. But I've come around. Like, just Deebo is so dang good at everything. It's like the opportunities are there. He's efficient with it. It's like that's why I'm just not worried about like anything that could happen in terms of it. The volume's low. It's like, geez, his yards per route run, he's number 4, 3.72, and it was super high last year too when his like, average depth of target was like under 3. He's a playmaker. We can't deny Deebo on this podcast.
No.
I just don't
and
their offense either.
And one thing I have noticed about him, last year when he was running the ball, he was so aggressive. Like, he would just drop his body into like 200-pound linebackers, and then he would get hurt all the time. That's what happened last year with Deebo. It ruined his year. But this year, I feel like he still runs aggressive. But I feel like he's been a bit less aggressive, and it's keeping him healthy and it's keeping him off on the field. And that's been really helping his fantasy value. Because when he was on the field fully healthy last year, he was great. Like, he was not this level, but he was like a top 24 receiver when he was on the field. He was pretty much an auto start when he was on the field, but he was just off the field a lot. But now he's being a little bit less aggressive when he runs, taking the step out of bounds if a big man's coming after him, and just being a bit less crazy with his running, and it's definitely helping him stay on the field.
So last year he was more like a running back that runs the contact, and that's why he's not banged up.
Yeah, and because he's not a big guy. He's not a very big dude.
Of receivers, huh?
Yeah.
Chris Carson, Josh Jacobs, always banged up, run the contact.
Yeah, he's evolving more into like a Kamara who will go into contact but goes into it at an angle or just a little shimmy where he's not taking a direct shot, but still can run somebody over or get around him.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, speaking of running backs, let's go on to the next guy. We're gonna talk about Mr. Regular Season Lenny. No more playoff Lenny, apparently. Leonard Fournette was drafted as RB40, and right now he's RB10 on the season in terms of total PPR points, and RB16 in terms of PPR points per game. Is it regular season all season Lenny, or is it just early season Lenny? Fact or fiction?
I believe I couldn't believe his ADP earlier this offseason. I guess there were a lot of people that still believed in Ronald Jones for some reason, or Keyshawn Vaughn, God forbid. But
I don't think anyone believed Keyshawn Vaughn.
Well, Keyshawn Vaughn.
Somebody screaming in the Twitter sphere that still believes. But anyway, I mean, I'm a believer. I saw what he did in the playoffs into the Super Bowl. He was one of the more valuable players on that team. I mean, the team just operated a lot better when he's on the field. I mean, he can block, he can catch, he can run, he can score in the red zone, and he plays with Tom Brady. I mean, what's not to love? I think wheels up. He started kind of slow, but I think what we've seen in the last few weeks is what we're going to see for most of this year. So I would definitely buy if somebody doesn't believe, because I think he can definitely possibly finish as a top 12 running back this year.
Yeah, I'll go here. Yeah, I completely agree here. I was a Ronald Jones fan entering the season, and that's been sucking. But Leonard Fournette is at least a top 15 back moving forward, if not a top 12 back. And I've seen some people being scared on Twitter of Ronald Jones getting 10 carries last game. Keyshawn Vaughn getting 5 carries last game, and both looked solid on their carries. The Bucs were winning this game from quarter one. They were ahead 21-0 by the end of the first quarter. This was a complete dominated game. They did not need any of their starters playing, so they let Leonard Fournette rest a little bit, and they ran the clock out with the other two guys. But Leonard Fournette is the clear lead back of this backfield. He's the clear workhorse, and he's looking great. He actually looks great. He's making people miss. He's breaking tackles, and he's just watching him in the Eagles game. I watch pretty much every Eagles game. That was mostly when I learned, oh my gosh, he's legit this year. Like, he is really good at football. He's a top 15 back moving forward for me.
Yeah, and I'm going to join the consensus here. Like, I know it's boring, but let's face it here. In a Tom Brady offense, you always want the pass catching running back. That's clearly Leonard Fournette. But unlike James White in past Tom Brady offenses, Fournette can run the ball. It's clear. It's not just the eye test. It's like you pull up Player Profiler, you start looking at the advanced stats and the analytics, and it's like all the rushing stats. It is very respectable, along with just his receiving stat lines. He's number 5 in weighted opportunities, which gives a little more emphasis towards the targets, the receptions, and everything we care about in PPR. And yeah, it's like top 15 is like an instant smash, I believe. So, we'll say top 10. Like, he is an RB1. And really, when you start thinking too, it's like it's a Buccaneers offense, good offense. That's what we want for running backs. Good offenses usually means more opportunities for running backs. And
that's Cloud's Lair.
Yeah. Well, man, good old CEH. Man, was he ever good? That becomes the question. But with Fournette, I think the difference is CEH, despite being a pass-catching running back in college, he hasn't been utilized that in the Chiefs offense for whatever reason. Patrick Mahomes always looking deep, but Tom Brady is not afraid of just going, hey, got to get the ball out 2-3 seconds. Hey, check down option, sure, awesome. And the past 4 weeks, he's been a top 15 RB every single week, and I don't see it stopping. Just this Buccaneers offense is going to continue to move the chains. And that's great for running backs. So I'm buying Leonard Fournette as at least a top 10 running back.
So I'm going to give a point to everybody this time around because everybody seems to be all in on the Lenny Fournette train. Tempted to give you an extra point there, Aaron, for saying he'd be a top 10 running back. But you dialed it back to an RB1, so everybody gets a point there. So Aaron's on the board. Quick score check. Rocco with 3, Hutch with 5, Aaron with 1.
And while we do that,
no.
I'm going to show off a little bit of my own work here. This blue line right here on your screen is Leonard Fournette's percent of offense per week. He's been crushing it, over 30%, over 20%, almost 40% of the offense there in week 6, 26% in week 7, and you can see his fantasy points going right along with it. As he's touching the ball, he's getting more and more. His fantasy points per play used is almost 1 point per play used. So if you think about, a guy getting 15 to 20 touches a game, he's getting almost a point per touch, which means 15 to 20 touches, 15 to 20 points, and possibly even better if he, scampers into the end zone or something like that, which completely possible on that Tampa Bay offense. So I award myself 2 points.
So that's a 2-point answer right there, Seth. That's a good one. It's too bad not everyone has that fancy schmancy information at their disposal. All right, I'm going to move to the quarterback position, and I'm going to talk about a quarterback who's coming off the board at QB 27, moved to a new team this year. As far as total points, he's QB 16 points per game. He's QB 19. He was recently benched this last week.
Oh.
So we're going to talk a bit about Sam Darnold. And he's been very Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Now, the question here is, do we see any sort of consistency moving forward with Sam Darnold, or do we see these 25-point weeks followed by a 6-point week, followed by a 30-point week, followed by a 2-point week? So, fact or fiction, Sam Darnold will be more consistent for the rest of the season, or will we see the ups and the downs in 2021?
I can start here. I'm not gonna say either of those options. I'm gonna say he's gonna be consistently poor. I think he's gonna be pretty consistently poor for the rest of the season. It is clear that he cannot operate without Christian McCaffrey. And it is clear that he is not a good quarterback. Over the last 3 games, just listen to this: 177 yards, 207 yards, 111 yards, 21 for 37, 17 for 41, 16 for 25. He has 5 picks in the 3-game span. He has just been absolutely awful. And, those first 4 games, right, he just got so lucky with rushing touchdowns. He had 5 rushing touchdowns in the first 4 games.
At one point, he was leading the league, or he was tied with Patterson.
Yeah, for rushing touchdowns.
For rushing touchdowns, yeah.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I mean, Chris McCaffrey was out, so he's getting some more goal line work, which is fair. Those are more predictable. But he got very, very lucky, and he hasn't got those anymore. And now he's really showing his true colors. And without McCaffrey, because McCaffrey in those first 2 weeks averaged 29.5 touches per game, he was the offense. He was the offense for the Panthers. And now that he's gone, like, Sam Darnold just cannot operate. When Christian McCaffrey comes back, it could be a different story. But with Christian McCaffrey sidelined, I expect him to be sidelined for a long time. I expect him to be sidelined for a while. The Panthers are so conservative with him. We saw last year he might come back this week. Nope. Oh, he might come back this week. No. Like, just never came back every single week. He was disappointing, never came back. And I feel like we could see that this year once again. And Sam Darnold just going to keep struggling.
All right. Aaron, what say you about Sam Darnold?
Well, the first 3 weeks, he was Sam Darnold. And then ever since then, he's been damn Darnold, because he's just been that damn bad. And there hasn't been anything in these 4 weeks to go that he's going to turn it around. I remained adamant throughout the offseason. I was like, Sam Darnold is not a good quarterback. Like, we have 3 years, and people go, oh, Adam Gase. Like, that's not the answer to everything. Sometimes you're just a bad professional quarterback. And then when people go, look at the first 3 weeks, it's like, okay, if you're a professional athlete, you can have a 3-game stretch of being good at football. I mean, Blake Bortles had a fantasy football season where he's top 12. Do we think he's a good quarterback? No. So when Sam Darnold came back to earth, I was like, there it is. Like, yes, I wanted to kind of wait a little bit. I wasn't ready to take the L on that. But no, like, this has been horrible. And sorry, when you bench a quarterback, like, that's what the coaching staff is telling us, the viewers, the fans, exactly what they think of Darnold. If they really thought that Darnold was good, you don't bench him at all. And so now the entire time, now going forward, Sam Darnold's going to be thinking about that next mistake he makes and looking over to the sidelines and going, is the coach going to pull me for making a mistake? And it's going to be a bad combination. And it pains me. I'm a huge DJ Moore fan. I need Darnold to be good because I'm a DJ Moore fan. But no, it's not going to be up or down. It's going to be more down. It's going to be a lot more downs. What we've seen from weeks 5, 6, and 7 going forward, that's what you're going to expect. Those first 4 weeks, as Hutch talked about, like 5 rushing touchdowns. Sam Darnold isn't going to keep up that pace. Of course he isn't. And that was what helped lead to all those top 5 QB seasons, because rushing matters. So poor Darnold. He's gone. Bye, Sam Darnold. Hello, damn Darnold.
Man.
All right, Rocco,
Yeah, Sam Darnold, he is who we thought he was. We let him off the hook in the first 3 weeks, but no, I mean he lost his number one target, Dan Arnold, and he's been shit ever since. I think we gave him a little bit too much benefit of the doubt. We thought he may have been gazed, but maybe the weapons around him were Darnold. I think that he is what we see him to be, a very mediocre quarterback, a guy who at times looks eerily similar to Jameis Winston, just the spider meme. Those guys just pointing at each other, making horrible decisions. Horrible accuracy. They're just not very good. I mean, they have a lot of usable weapons in Carolina. He hasn't been able to do anything with Robbie Anderson all year, who had 1,000 yards last year.
Usable, underappreciating.
Yeah,
they're elite.
DJ Moore is one of the top stud receivers in the league. I mean, he had another stud in Terrence Marshall there. I mean, he lost Christian McCaffrey, but there are weapons there that he has not utilized at all. DJ Moore has fallen off a cliff in the last few weeks after starting out real hot. And this team that looked like it was on the rise after the first few weeks, starting 3-0, I believe they're 3-4 now, and they do not look like a good team at all. I think that Darnold may continue to get benched at certain points this year because that is not a good team right now.
Yeah, and sorry, I just want to add one last quick thing, Kai.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure.
And last thing, like with Darnold too, like the defense really showed up in the first few weeks against some terrible offense with the Jets and the Saints and Houston, and Darnold didn't really have to do much. Like the defense was stopping them, and he could give it to McCaffrey. As I said earlier, 29.5 times per game. He didn't have to, really play like hero ball. He didn't really have to do much. And then the next weeks come, the Panthers defense starts to struggle. They get in higher scoring games, and Sam Darnold actually has to carry his team without Christian McCaffrey, and he's clearly showing that he can't do it.
Yeah, and just to bring it back one more time to what we're playing here with the Fact or Fiction, with Robbie Anderson, he was wide receiver 29 is where he was going in drafts in terms of ADP. He's wide receiver 76 in points per game right now. So talk that way off with Robbie Anderson there.
Let me give you one Robbie Anderson stat. The past 2 weeks, he's had 20 targets and he's combined for 25 yards.
Like 6 catches.
That is terrible. All right.
And they gave this guy a massive extension that does not kick in till next season. So he's already playing poor before his big money extension kicks in. Like, bravo, Robbie Anderson. Like, just
Aaron, stop before I deduct points from you because I was about to have you win that round. But
all right, Zach,
you keep talking. You keep talking. I'm gonna take a point away.
Guys, check this out. He's wide receiver 76, and that's with a 57-yard touchdown in week 1.
Yeah. All right. So that was it's 2 for Aaron, 1 for Hutch, and 1 for Rocco. Hutch really brought in the stats in there, but I do appreciate a good pun, and I'm a sucker for a good pun. So
I love dad jokes.
Yeah.
I love dad jokes.
All right.
All right.
Through 4 rounds, I think what we'll do is we'll call the game here. Hutch with 6, Rocco with 4, Aaron with 3 points in fact or fiction. What we'll do, since Hutch is the winner, Hutch, is there anybody that you wanted to talk about that kind of falls in line with what Seth and I, the game that we played tonight, that has maybe overperformed or underperformed?
There was a player I did want to mention real quick. I wanted to ask about Amari Cooper, who was drafted as the wide receiver 17 in PPR formats, is now the wide receiver 26 in PPR formats. I'm using Fantasy Pros data here.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys think about Amari Cooper? Does he keep up this wide receiver 26 pace, or does he get better?
I think he'll finish the season inside the top 24. And it's not a bold take, right? He's wide receiver 26 right now. Wide receiver 26 total points, wide receiver 21 in points per game, according to fantasy data. So he's right there in that mix, and I think that's who he is based on the Cowboy offense, their usage with Zeke, with Lamb, with either Jarwin or Schultz, and with Dak Prescott being on the field and in full command of that offense. I mean, they're going to have 2 top 24 wide receivers and probably a top 10 running back with Zeke. So that offense is going to be good. And Cooper will be, like I said, they'll both be top 24 wide receivers. I don't see him creeping into that top 20, top 18 is probably his ceiling. Finishing right around where he was now that's maybe a little lower. Wide receiver 18 to wide receiver 20 is kind of my thoughts and my take on where Amari Cooper ends up. So a little bit better than he is now, but not much.
Yeah, and I think he's going to be closer to the 2030 range, I feel like, partly because Michael Gallup is about to come back, and it's going to be more of a Dak's going to find the open player, which is going to help Cooper in some games and hurt him in others. And so when we look at total points, it's going to be a little bit better than some of the points per game type of metrics, like how I use median or how most people use average points per game. It's going to be a little bit worse because he's going to have those games where he's the guy that gets 2 touchdowns. But then he's also going to have that week where he got 5 targets, 3 catches, 30 yards because Gallup went off, Schultz went off, CeeDee Lamb went off. There's going to be even more of that flux that's going to happen. I still think he is still the alpha on the field in terms of like the X, and he's going to dominate in terms of snap percentage. But I don't think it's going to be he's the one that's getting the most receptions. He's not the one getting the most designed plays. He's not the one getting the most actual bang for your buck on the field, and especially in fantasy, if that makes sense.
I think the problem with everybody on that offense is the Dallas defense is legit, so they're not going to get dragged into these shootouts weekly. I still think that Cooper is Dak's number 1 target. I think he's the guy he goes to when he needs to complete a pass, to move the chains, to make a big play. But they're just not going to need to use those passing game weapons every single week because there are going to be some somewhat lower scoring games in the future, and they're not going to be playing catch up every single week like they have in the past couple years.
And then my stat here is week 1, Amari Cooper was the wide receiver 1. Since then, he has had 0 top 24 performances. It really comes down to the Cowboys they're a much better overall team than anyone thought. And they're able to get stops on defense. They're able to run the ball. Hey, I'm excited as a Cowboys fan, but I'm always a pessimistic one. I've been burned enough times. I love it. But with Cooper, what we're going to see is like the Cooper special. He'll have another big game that's going to help his fantasy points per game, like remain in that like wide receiver. What was it? Wide receiver 26. Like
that's where he's at right now.
Yeah, I'd see him like wide receiver 26 to 30 because what's going to happen is he'll have another huge game, and then he'll have like he had in weeks 4 and 5 he was wide receiver 25. So on a technicality, it was like he wasn't top 24, but he'll have enough of those games where it's like most weeks you go, dang, Cooper really didn't do what I needed him to do to help me win, and then he'll have the one big game that makes his season look better than what it is.
That's fair. I can get behind that.
Very fair.
Yeah. All right. So Hutch, who are you awarding the points to? I feel like it's obviously me.
I actually liked salary captains here. I loved AA Ron's here, man.
All right.
I love the huge games are going to keep it up in the 26 to 30 range. I think it'll be a little bit higher because I think he's just Amari Cooper. He's going to be a little higher than that. But I do agree that there's going to be some huge games that just go crazy with his fantasy value, and then the other ones you're going to be very disappointed. And with him rostered in a lot of leagues for me, I am terrified of Amari Cooper right now. I'm not happy because I feel like CeeDee Lamb's taking over. I really feel like CeeDee Lamb's taking over. And with Michael Gallup coming back, as you said earlier, like he's got to start practicing this week. Like this is a bad thing brewing for Amari Cooper for this season. So I'm trying to sell him if I can.
Yeah. All right, guys. We're gonna try and wrap this up right now. We're overtime because we always go overtime. But we're giving the people what they love, hopefully. I would love it if you guys can stay on. We're going to play my favorite game, which is Fact Attack. We put 5 minutes on the clock. We go through, Pat's already found a bunch of questions on Twitter, and we try and answer as many as we can in 5 minutes and try and rapid fire them.
Rapid fire these, yes.
Not
rapid fire.
Ramble for 5 minutes on one question. All right. You guys game?
Let's do it.
Man.
All right, it's time for I love the drops that I created. They're so awful and so funny every time I play them.
So I have scoured Twitter for questions of a variety of, Dynasty, redraft, PPR, whatever I can find, and I've included as much information as I can. So Seth has got 5 minutes on the clock, and we're going to rapid fire these as fast as we can to get through as many as we can. Seth, are we ready?
On your mark, get set, giddy up.
First is from @BostonStrong213. Which quarterback would you rather have for the rest of the year, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, or Tua? Hutch, go.
Jalen Hurts all day.
Aaron.
Jalen Hurts.
Rocco.
Burrow.
Seth.
Ooh.
I think I clicked Burrow, but then I wanted Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is the correct answer there, even though I want Burrow.
So I'm going with you, Rocco. I'm going with Joe Burrow.
Hurts going to be benched.
All right.
Oh, my gosh, that's true, man.
Next is from @Trella_Jared. This is for this week only. Do you want T. Higgins or Jerry Jeudy? Aaron, go.
Give me T. Higgins.
Rocco.
Higgins.
Hutch.
Give me T. Higgins. Judy's first week back might not be the best.
Exactly what I was going to say. Higgins with Jeudy coming off the injury, but then Jeudy probably following. Yep.
That was my exact answer as well. All right. Up next is from @Imperial T, our good friend Clark. Who is the most droppable in a 12-team PPR league? A-Rob, Tim Patrick, or both? Rocco, you're up first. Most droppable.
I'm not dropping that, Aaron. A-Rob, I'm holding. Get rid of Tim Patrick out of here.
Aaron?
I'm dropping both. I don't want roster cloggers on my team.
Hutch?
I can't drop Robinson because that trade deadline coming up.
Seth?
It's both for me because I can't hold A-Rob anymore in the leagues that I have him. I can't hold them anymore.
In like a shallower 10-team league, I think that's fine. But in a 12-teamer, I think you should hold on.
Yeah. I was leaning Tim Patrick, but I'm actually more towards dropping them both right now. So I'll say both. All right,
I feel like that scene in Titanic where he's like, hold on, and he's like trying, and it's like, I can't.
I'd be pushing him.
I got to wait.
Get out of here.
I got to hold.
From @Elsinore81, PPR League, pick one of these 4 running backs for this week. Elijah Mitchell, Khalil Herbert, Darrell Williams, or Javonte Williams. Seth, go.
Mitchell.
Hutch.
Herbert.
Rocco.
Herbert.
Aaron.
Mitchell.
Wow, I'm going to go Javonte Williams. I'm going to mix it up. All right. Up next is from @Randy Demig PE. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. But who to start in a full PPR league this week? Mike Williams at New England or DeAndre Hopkins versus Green Bay? Full PPR this week, Mike Williams or DeAndre Hopkins? I'm going to go Hopkins. I'll go first. So I'm going to say D-Hop. Aaron.
Give me Hopkins.
Rocco.
Williams.
Seth.
I'm going Hop also.
And Hutch.
As long as Jerry Alexander is on IR, give me Hopkins.
All right. From at Willie Gronka, this is Redraft League, half-point PPR. You need to hold one of these players, Alex Collins, Kadarius Toney, or Laviska Shenault. Rocco, go.
Tony. Holden.
Aaron.
Give me Shenault.
Hutch.
Give me Tony.
I'm going to go Toney as well. Seth.
God, I want to say Chanel, but I can't. It's Tony. It's Tony. Yeah. Much bigger play potential, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
From at Craig Cam 0274, who is the better PPR option this week? Noah Fant versus Washington or Robert Tonyan at Arizona? Aaron.
Give me Noah Fant. A Washington Swiss cheese defense.
Hutch.
Give me Fant.
Seth.
Remember when Washington was a scary defense?
Rapid fire.
That's my answer.
Okay. Rocco.
Tonkowski.
I'm going Tonyan as well. Just the limited options for Green Bay. All right, last one. We actually made it from at Sid 402 Sid. Which quarterback for Week 8? Daniel Jones at Kansas City, Wentz versus Tennessee, or Tua at Buffalo? Seth, you're up first.
I hate you. I can't do Daniel Jones. Even though Kansas City is ass, it's Carson Wentz. Give me Carson Wentz against Tennessee.
I'm also going with Carson Wentz. Hutch, who do you got?
So it's Carson Wentz or Daniel Jones, correct?
Yes, or Tua.
Or Tua against Buffalo,
or Tua.
which,
Oh, no way.
It's
Daniel Jones for me. That defense is going to get lit up.
Rocco?
I'm going to roll with the hot hand. I'm going with Wentz.
And Aaron.
Hey, Daniel Jones can pass, run, and catch. Give me Daniel Jones.
Oh my
and
gosh.
throw interceptions and
Oh
fumble.
And
Throw
look
dimes
at
to their
doing it
team.
all.
And he's a rushing quarterback.
Danny Dimes just loves throwing dimes to the other team.
Yeah.
All right. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this week. Much appreciated. It was a great show. Seth and I do appreciate you guys coming on tonight.
Very much.
One last time, where can the people find you on Twitter? Aaron, please tell the good people.
You can find me on Twitter at AaronStew09.
Rocco?
At Syriaco Solar FF. You can see it right here in the corner.
Hutch?
You can find me on Twitter at TYFMNFL, and it's in my name tag right there.
Awesome. I am at Dynasty_Pat. Seth is at FF, the at-home dad. The show is at GX Fantasy Facts. Don't forget the promos, Viridian Global, code FAQS gets you 10% off. And the same code FAQS at Underdog. They will match your first deposit up to $100. Whew, that's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
That was a great show. All right.
Great show. Good night, everybody.
Catch you on the flip side.